Hi. The time is 11:08 p.m., August 29th, 2025. It is my duty, as the world knows, which I have proven and done for 8 years, to inform the public of who, what, when, why, and how. All right? The media is sensationalizing, blowing up, making a bigger deal of, exaggerating the amounts of people that would be attending this blasphemy of the United States, of the United States Constitution, and of the United States U.S. Armed Services. All right? The planned celebration for the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marines are the very exact individuals in the U.S. Armed Services who are actively attacking the United States. First, in 2017 with Donald Trump, they continued under Biden, and they are now actively attacking the United States with Donald Trump again. The difference is the media has televised their parades, their current and present insurrection, and to cover that up, the failure of the insurrection, which is happening right now in Washington, D.C., they put out a media sensationalized disinformation campaign, planned event of more television, press, radio, and film to send these individuals back onto the television, press, radio, and film, and yet another long, miserable, televised parade. Only difference is this parade is scheduled to go on day after day after day. They plan to do this with everything the world and the American public has watched them just do in DC. As for the Marines that were in Los Angeles, that's the good military. The confusion, which was intended and malicious and criminal, carrying with the charges of treason for Biden and Trump. The confusion to have the cooping military wearing the same uniforms as the good American U.S. military, who I am a direct witness, saved my life in Washington, D.C. and the S Street chemical weapons compound. The confusion is historically wicked. Thankfully, nobody is so stupid that they cannot tell the difference between a moral military member wearing the United States Armed Services uniforms, and a military member wearing the United States Armed Services uniforms who poisons me, who chopped up bodies at a historic level. And I don't need to testify to that because the US military knows everything that happened here, which is still happening here. The cannibalism happened here. The weapons manufacturing is still happening here at 1509 S Street Northwest. It is my duty to inform the public why cities like Philadelphia, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and New York City are bombed and gutted by the U.S. military and by our U.S. allies. Those allies are the Russian military, the Chinese military, the IDF, the British military, and a handful of other countries. The Mexican military, you should be familiar with them. The disinformation coming out of my country and the individuals within the U.S. Press Corps who have been carrying on these acts of treason in front of my face while you're poisoning me, and in front of the very military members who do not need to be informed of anything that's happening on S Street. Those individuals in the U.S. Press Corps will be arrested and you will be hung for treason. It is a capital charge that I cannot get in the way of, and only thing I can do is what people know I do, and that is I can pray for your soul. Please piece it together for the public. One televised, big, huge, indescribable TV event after the next, after the next, after the next of military and insurrecting police. Please, to the public, piece this together. All right? Lastly, the confusion, which was intended, malicious, and incredibly historically illegal, just criminal as it gets, to dress the Ukrainian military in U.S. uniform, to dress Iranian and Hamas fighters. I'm a witness to the Iranian and the Hamas. The Iranian Guard and the Palestinian military in U.S. uniforms. This is fact. The U.S. military backs me up. It's my job to inform the public. The confusion was intended. The couping military under Biden and Trump dressed up Russian military nationals in U.S. uniform, and it was a big, months-long campaign, military campaign, to have the Russian military, who is taking orders from Putin, to attack Russia to get the US jets, which is why you've seen so many jets being shot out of the sky. All right, and this has been occurring within the US Navy. Now, in closing, going back to when they started killing prostitutes in this house 6 years ago, I witnessed an African American US Navy man who was active in the dismemberment of the woman that I heard first be killed here, and the man named William Murray, who never died, who I witnessed dismember tens of dozens of bodies over the course of 3 years, and who I witnessed cannibalize and manufacture serious explosive weapons. He also did massive other violent terrorist felony crimes in front of me, and the good military, who is U.S. Navy SEALs, and the Russian military. So there's nothing I need to testify to here. I'm just going to say for the public. William Murray was also, he told me when he was alive, when I first moved in, he is a former Navy officer. I've never been allowed to say this, but he worked with some sort of technical department within the U.S. Navy. So this street, it goes straight to the Pentagon. And that is why if you stand on the corner, you can't miss the good military, who is U.S. military, and the group of people that I have just stated. That is why they can't just come in here and raid, and that is why they bomb and strike the Capitol. They will. And it's not for me to even have that kind of information. So to tell any one of you, oh, they're going to do it tomorrow, is something I cannot do. I do not know when, but they'll do it. And so for any of these individuals in the cooping military to persist at going into these big day-long, hours-long, televised, look at us, here we are, cooping in the United States and attacking the country on TV is terminal in your decisions and highly not something anyone would advise. At any point when they're there, rockets are liable to crash on their heads from the U.S. Armed Services, who protected my life in 1509 S Street Northwest. I have authorized it, and I've authorized depopulation within my country for anyone who supports attacking the Constitution, attacking peaceful citizens, who anyone supports neo-Nazism, anyone who supports attacking violently your sovereign territory, plotting and planning and engaging in armed, planned, any sort of terrorism. The punishment is hanging, or however the good military needs to carry that out. As far as the churches, this is any religion, starting with your Catholic Church, your Christian churches, starting with your Muslim and your Hebrew synagogues, and just down the list. Your churches are being shut down in the United States when we implement martial law. It's not a department of mine. I don't have the call because I am a very religious person, but I myself can't be attending any of the churches. The reason for that is because of the militarization that took place in the churches, Catholic, Christian, and Muslim, also some synagogues. They internationally, over the course of 8 years, and domestically in the United States, used their religious facilities to carry in and put military weaponry and on down the list, A to Z. There's been many good-hearted individuals in the Catholic, in the Christian, in the Muslim, and in the synagogues who were witness to that, who assisted the good military, the U.S. Armed Services, who I'm talking about, in gathering the evidence, removing the weaponry, and making it so official that the churches are being shut down in the martial law that I can't even get involved. And I'm a big time Catholic. So I also, in the 8 years that I was persecuted and went through this in my country, this uprising of couping military and insurrecting police with white nationalists, white supremacists supporting every move they made. I also remember a handful of attempts that were made on my life while I was at the church alone trying to pray. Witnessing is witnessing. There's big time testimony to these attempts. And I also remember in Washington, D.C. to close with being ushered out by a woman from a Catholic church. I won't say what one because it's not my department to say too much about the Catholic diocese. But I was in my term of speech in civilian talk. I was thrown out almost physically from the church, and all I was doing was praying there by Mother Mary. All right, so it's God has his hand in this. If you want to go ahead and close with a Christian statement. Because after I was thrown out of the Catholic Church, I'll never forget it. We'll talk about it later. After that, I spent 6 years in a terrorist compound. I survived every day of it. And for 4 of those years, 4.5, it's actually more 4.5, 4.5 of those years, maybe 5. Let me say this to be correct in my statement. I survived 6 years of a violent terror cell in Washington, D.C. No one's questioning what's happening here. And for 5 of those years, I was poisoned with lethal gas. The choices and actions that the Catholic diocese made to throw me out almost physically while I prayed at your church was your choice. God is greater, and because of how God created me, I'm making this report for all of you to hear right now. All right, so thank you, God the Father, for my life. Thank you, God the Father, for this report. May I do your will, not mine. All right, have a good night. Goodbye.